All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the season 2 premiere of Star Trek Euthenia. My name's ELH, the Game Master, and joining me are some lovely individuals that I am absolutely thrilled to once again begin role playing with. I just have a few quick things to say before we get started. In general, moving forward, we are hopefully, knock on wood, going to be returning to a weekly schedule. I know we were off for a month and a half there, but all things considered and all schedules working out, we're going to be bringing you goodness on Tuesdays best we can. The other thing I have to say is that if you aren't already checking out the Avatar game, well, maybe I should let Aaron, Wolf, and Matthew sing those epitaphs because they do it far better than I do. Definitely recommend checking it out on Mondays. And then last but not least, we got to give a shout out to the Lester Hall game because the Lester Hall game is having just as much fun as these guys here. They are on Saturdays at 5 p.m., so definitely would recommend checking them out as well. But I think that's all I have for my announcements, so why don't we go ahead and have everyone introduce themselves, then we'll run the intro video, and we'll do the opening log. So, Aaron, go for it.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's Aaron again for like the 100th Tuesday in a row almost. So excited to be back playing Star Trek Adventures. This is what brought me to this community in the first place. It's still the system, the setting probably closest to my heart here. Although Avatar is starting to creep up there. Boy, if you guys really need we're only like 4 full episodes in. Do yourself a favor, watch those VODs and join us on Mondays because it's turning out to be a wonderful ride.
Watney, you're up next.
Well, you've convinced me, so I'll do that. Hi, I'm Money. I'm also glad to be back. I missed everybody. I play Commander Stetko, the XO of the Euthenia. Glad to be here.
I'm Dag. I play Euthenia's resident Edosian doctor, Dr. Major Razib. And that's it.
No bingo? No bingo?
Everybody knows.
Okay.
I have forgotten. You should tell us.
And if you want to talk about it, hit me up at Durwolf88 on Twitter.
Close enough.
Durwolf Gaming 88.
That's not even close to being an accurate statement of anything. If you want to talk to Dag, hit him up on Trek Nexus on Twitter and all of his socials. Just follow him constantly. Post, spam, retweet, all of it. Hey everybody, my name is Darewolf. Darewolf Gaming 88 on Twitter and Twitch. I play Commander Saros, and I'm very excited to be here. Yeah, you should definitely watch the Monday night game. It's been an absolute riot. It's it's okay because Aaron's there and he's kind of terrible, but no, it's fine. At least I get to hang out with with Matthew, so it's good. Anyway, I digress. Hey Matthew, what's up?
Hey, Mo.
Just planning on having a great evening. Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play the intelligence officer Vizeth, who is a Vergeron, a species native to this region of space in the Delta Quadrant, where we are lost. And I am also in the Monday Nights game that you should check out because it is marvelously entertaining with these 3 fine gentlemen.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's run that intro video. And I have no idea how much of
Kill
that the
Matthew.
stream heard, but all right, welcome back, everybody. So, as kind of a sort of catch-up before we do the opening log, Star Trek Euthenia follows the escapades of an Aspero-class cruiser, or carrier, I should say, that has gotten lost in the far reaches of the Delta Beta Quadrant. Now, they've already been pretty much out in space for about 9 months at this point, and they have already integrated new super weapons into their carrier. They've saved alien species. They've met alien species. A lot has happened. But where we resume is we zoom into one of the windows of the Aspero class until we enter into a corridor and we see Commander Sarus, the Cation science officer, walking down the hallway. So, Dare Wolf, if you would care to go ahead and give your opening log, and do let me know if the opening music is too loud, because I can turn it down. But take it away.
What? Huh? What? No, I'm kidding. All right. Sorry, it's been a second. I got a little jitters. All right. Chief Science Officers, Commander Soros's personal log. Stardate 97418.2. I've been spending much of my recreation time watching an old Earth program called Lost in Space. Ensign Bradish said such a program was a bit, I believe the phrase was, on the nose. I'm not sure what olfactory has to do with the series, but I told him such old programs do not allow, very similar to what the holodeck does with sensations of smell. It's more about the emotion and simply losing yourself in the program versus actually being in the program. Anyway, I digress. With that being said, perhaps he was more drawing a comparison to our current situation, but unlike the show, those that were in the show were truly lost. We are not lost. We are, well, we know where we are. It's just that we're a long way from where we want to be, and anyway, I've been granted permission, well, that is to say, as the humans say, I have asked for forgiveness rather than permission, as it is better to ask for the prior rather than the latter. At least, that is what Commander Stetko told me. After our encounter on the alien planet, one of the Munko goblins, as I have since named them, stowed away inside of one of my bags. Seeing an opportunity to study these strange and fascinating creatures in a controlled environment was something I could not overlook or allow to pass by. So, once I had the Munko goblin secured in the lab, I let the captain know that I would be performing a number of tests. He seemed intrigued. Yes, intrigued by the opportunity to study new life aboard his ship. His exact words were, "You brought what aboard my vessel?" He was so excited, he could barely contain it. And afterwards, he was at a bit of a loss of words, so I simply left. With that being said, my research has uncovered that these creatures have a natural resistance to the radiation that is present in this part of the galaxy, something our shields have up to this point protected us from. But if my theory is correct, this resistance could be duplicated in the lab, and I could potentially create some sort of inoculation to protect the crew on future away missions. I am on my way back to the lab to see how the Munko Goblin is faring in the habitat I have set up for him. Perhaps I should name him. You know, Fazap always has a nice ring to it. End log.
Very nice. And you may have one momentum for your troubles there. And hey, yeah, if you haven't noticed already, we're in Foundry now. So now you guys at home can see the momentum tracker. Not the threat one, but you can see the momentum tracker there at home a little bit easier. But we are going to zoom in over Sarus's shoulders as the doors open into Euthenia's science lab. Now, this science lab is one of many aboard the Euthenia, because what's a Starfleet vessel without a science lab or two? But this one in particular is a little bit special, I think is a nice way to put it. When you walk in, there is a chemistry sort of lathe in the middle of the space in which you can test all variety of gases and chemicals and all the sort of good chemistry stuff there. To the left and right of the door are consoles which you can run library searches for. You can program up whatever you need done, and in general, get the computer to crunch the heavy numbers. But what really makes this room special is the fact that towards the back of the room, there are two separate holodecks, one to the left, one to the right. And there's a sort of control area that overlooks each of the holodecks. Now, normally, these holodecks would be used to test new technologies, test theories on how to deal with certain radiation, things of that nature. But Sarus, when you walk in, the cage that you had the Monko Goblin stored in, we'll say was in holodeck 1 here. It's now in the middle of the normal room, and it's wide open.
So walking in, Soros is his head in a tablet, and he speaks before he looks up. So, Fazapo, how are you? Oh, that is not good. Oh, that is probably not good at all. Oh dear, how did it get out of its cage? Oh, Commander Soros oh dear, who should I call? Commander Stetko. Yes, Commander Stetko. We may have a potential security threat. Please meet me in Science Bay 4.
What is the threat level, Soros?
To be determined, Commander.
Yeah, give me a 1 to 5.
3.
I'll be there in a bit.
Mhm.
And she'll make her way there, kind of taking care of a couple things. Maybe on the way.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, or maybe not so good news, is that Stetko, by the time you arrive in the bay, Saras, you have run several scans of the cage and come up short of an explanation.
Commander, how big of a problem would it be if you remember those monkey goblins that we ran into on the planet?
How could I forget?
If one of them was to hypothetically be running amok in the ship, would that be on a scale of 1 to 5, how bad would that be?
Well, we know its size, right? So we can just tell the computer to search for the creature and it should be fine.
See, that is where things get a bit sticky, I believe is the human phrase. It would appear that the increased oxygen levels on the ship have allowed the creature to get bigger.
She her eyes flick down to the cage. How big's the cage?
Cage is the size for
A cat
maybe
carrier?
like a big dog,
Hmm.
and it's been torn asunder.
I think she'll bigger, huh?
Yes.
What was this has it grown that much since we brought it on board? I don't remember them being that big.
How familiar are you with a targ?
It's for us.
2 of those together. It's probably fine. It seemed very docile the last time that I saw it, which was over 2 hours ago.
So docile that it tore open its cage.
It was likely an accident. Fazapo is not an angry Monko goblin. He is simply confused as to where he has found himself, or she. I'm not sure of the gender of the creature yet, but I was running tests and he just kind of goes off on a bit of a tangent.
She's gonna take out her tricorder and scan the cage for, I would say, fibers or any kind of biological residue of the creature.
All right.
And try and get a lock on its bio life signs.
I'd like to assist.
I already was going to tell you assist. You're already thinking in the same way. All right. So to get everybody used to Foundry, so Watney, you're going to be rolling me a Reason and Security. The difficulty on this will be a 1. And Saras, you are assisting with your Reason Science. And again, assisting means you roll 1 die.
I have xenoanthropology.
I'll give it to you. It's got Xeno in the name. I'll give it to you. Why not?
Damn right. I love
I
it.
don't really have anything that would be.
No escape and avoidance,
Well,
like literally.
That's a lull, first of all. That was a lulls. I have star-based security systems. I don't know if that like comes into play yet, but it's the most relevant thing.
I'll give it to you
Boom, 2
because this
successes.
would be you tying in your efforts to the ship's security. So I'll give it to you.
Okay. I think I'm doing this correctly.
Okay, no, that's good. So that is 3 total successes. So you are going to get 2 momentum, bringing you up to 4. But there is going to be a complication. So Stetko and Saras working together, you do find some fibers. You do find some biological residue, like skin cells, hair, that sort of thing. But the complication is that you also find something very troubling. Apparently, those claw marks, they weren't just from brute strength alone. They were, shall we say, acidic in nature.
How fascinating. It seems that the creature has evolved in a very short amount of time to have some sort of acidic biolumin. Interesting. And Saras is going to go off on a tangent about science stuff.
And to make matters worse, there's a complication from chat, and the complication is as you start to speak, Stetko, both Saras and you hear something thunk in the ceiling. And it's a big thunk, like somebody is having a river dance above you, loud.
See, Commander Stetko, I told you Fazappa would not go far. He is simply just exploring like any creature would.
She's like mid-sentence of his explanation. She's tapping her comm badge. Security team to the science lab.
4.
Stat.
And, they, of course, report back. But what happens, though, as you make that call, part of the ceiling collapses. Because you know me, I love things dropping from the ceiling. But this very large monkey goblin, it's quite literally a monkey combined with a goblin, but sized up to be more like a standard ape that you would see in, say, a zoo. So it's a big monkey goblin. And in general, it started off as kind of like a grayish blue. It's now vibrant green with sort of like these pink spikes that are kind of jutting out from its shoulders and its head. And it kind of goes, ooh, ooh. And then
we talked about this. You're not supposed to leave your cage.
And he reaches up. I'm going to call it he because that's just going to be easier for me. He reaches up, rips a shard of crystal from his shoulder, and is going to throw it at you know what? I'll roll. Let's see who receives the wrath of the monkey. 1 will be Saras, 2 will be Stetko. All right, Saras, you're our lucky winner. All right, so 2d20, what do we got? Oh, it didn't give me individual. Oh, why didn't you give me individual? All right, we'll do this. I'm still learning Foundry myself, so there's probably an easier way to do this. But
if you, Mike, if you click the result, it'll actually expand and show you what you rolled on each individual die.
The good news is it needed 2 successes, and it definitely only got 1. So yeah, the crystal is going to fly over your shoulder, Saras, and shatter against the wall behind you. But when you turn to look at it, you see that the crystal has shattered and released a very acidic compound onto the wall, and it's literally eating away before your very eyes.
Bad Fazappo! No! Go back to your cage.
Computer force field around the creature.
His name is Fazappo.
And at this point, as you all, the force field comes into play, that kind of goes voomp, and the force field surrounds the creature. I would just wonder, for security procedure purposes, and this might be a question for Stetko and the captain here, at what point would the captain be informed, and at what point would Dorothy be informed?
So isn't Dorothy like omnipotent?
I mean, technically she's on all the time, but it's kind of one of those polite things where she doesn't, 100%
I guess
track
Stetko
everybody.
did order her to not be on the clock 100% of the time. So as soon as the force field goes up and she can get a breath, I think Stetko is drawing her phaser as well as tapping her comm badge to let the captain know.
I would like to be taking as many scans and readings of the creature as possible to understand what's happening to it.
Okay. Why don't you give me a reason science? Actually, you know what? I think insight science might be a better role here. Give me an insight science, and I'm going to make it a difficulty of 4 here.
Crew, can I spend 3 momentum?
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. We're gonna go with 4. We're gonna say focus, number of dice, big money, no whammies.
There you go. You got the 4 you needed. Very nice. So, Russ, your earlier comment about how the oxygen was allowing it to get bigger, it seems that apparently exposure to this much oxygen is causing it to mutate as well, which shouldn't even be a thing. Oxygen doesn't do that normally, so it's kind of weird. But you do have a theory that if you maybe put it in somewhere less oxygenated, it might stop mutating?
Computer, lower oxygen level inside the force field by 50%.
All right. I'll give that to you free. The atmospheric systems begin to hiss, and Fazapo, as we're calling him, he, is still pounding against the force field, still trying to throw crystals, but as the oxygen lowers in that environment, he starts to become more docile. Doesn't like knock out or anything, but he definitely kind of stops flailing about like a very rabid animal, is how I would qualify it.
Does he shrink?
He does not shrink, stays the same size.
Interesting. It would appear that the creature reacts both emotionally as well as physically to the percent of oxygen inside of the force field. And you would see Sir Russ on his pad hovering over the increase oxygen button. So you might want to stop him.
She's going to like swipe it from him.
Oh dear.
You're in trouble.
Why am I in trouble? I have not. No one has gotten hurt. It could be fixed. The commander gave me permission.
Right. Well, this will go on your performance review that's coming up soon.
So Russ looks devastated.
I think I would like, if it's possible, GM, for the captain to actually come in at this point.
Sure, go for it. Drag yourself onto the map.
Yes. And I think he would walk in seeing Stedco with like a phaser in one hand and a pad in the other, holding it like away from Sir Russ.
Does somebody mind telling me what all this is?
It is a science experiment, Commander.
Right.
Captain, sorry.
Right. The science experiment that you didn't ask me beforehand that if you could do.
You seemed so excited about it, Captain. Your exact words were, "You brought a what onto my ship?" And then you look just like your mouth was just wide and you didn't say anything. You just kept stuttering. I figured it was because you were so excited.
That is not the word that I would use, but why is it so big?
So Russ goes into a long tirade about science stuff.
I think we need to find a way to drop this off somewhere.
Dorothy?
And Dorothy at this point does appear. That holographic AI just sort of shimmers into existence and goes, yes, Captain, what? Oh, that's a big monkey goblin thing.
Yep.
His name is Fazapo.
Okay.
How
Fazapo.
far are we from Fazapo's home planet?
If you want us to turn around now, sir, it'll take us about a month and a half.
All right.
I mean, that's assuming, of course, we don't just try out the QSD. I mean, I heard Vizeth was kind of working on solutions for that. So, I mean, should I get Vizeth on the horn?
You know, just ping him, let him know what we're planning. Contact Major Razib. I want him down here. We need to figure out how we can contain this thing, and if I have to sedate it or put it in the stasis, then so be it. In the
Captain,
meantime,
it is completely harmless. I have lowered the oxygen level. Yes,
And the wall
Russ?
just keeps hissing like. "Sss."
Captain Razib is not going to want to contain this, if you know what I mean. This is right up his alley.
You
Commander,
will
that's
keep that
why-
man away from my monkey goblin.
That's why you're here, Commander. You're my mailed fist. All right. So I will be on the bridge.
No. This is priority number one. This thing has acid claws. Okay, that we got to figure out what to do with this. We cannot let this
Commander,
just hang out in a force field.
I have full confidence in your ability.
So real quick, as you're having this conversation, Vizeth, imagine you're probably in the wave motion gun room doing your calibrations, because that's apparently what you do. When you get a message and it says, "Hi, Dorothy here. Apparently that monkey thing that we shouldn't have had on the ship, it's gotten bigger. Cam wants to know if your QSD is ready yet."
And this just takes a look at the pad as he sort of crawls out from underneath the calibrating apparatus of the wave motion gun. Sighs, shakes his head, and then just types out a message. "I believe that this is your problem to deal with. Please do not involve me." And sends that back.
All right. Then Razib, Dorothy actually materializes in sickbay and goes, "Oh, hey, Doc Razib. Captain wants to see you in Science Lab 4. Apparently that monkey goblin thing got out and it's getting bigger, and it's a thing. It's a whole thing now. It's got like acid claws and it's really weird."
Has somebody been tampering with your program?
Oh, I see. No, this isn't a practical joke. Like this is actually happening.
A monkey goblin is on the
Yeah,
ship.
from the planet we visited a month ago.
There's nothing in the sensor registry for a monkey goblin.
Well, the name is something Sir Russ gave it, I think.
There's no new xeno life forms on this ship without my approval. You're kidding me. Go back and bug Stetco or something.
So there's two Dorothys here, one in sickbay and one in the lab. And Stetco, mid-conversation between Stetco and Williams, goes, Commander Stetco, Razib wants you to tell him to come here. Doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm pranking him.
Give me a minute. Just give me 1 second. Williams to Razib.
Captain, go ahead.
Report to Science Lab 4 now.
Yes, sir.
Appropriate amount of time later. Razib, you may drag yourself onto the map as well. Just a full party in Science Lab 4 at this point.
Russ is taking every moment that he can to study this thing and try to learn about its physiology as is possible before it's ripped away from him unjustly.
Well, Razib, at this point, when you do slide on in to Science Lab 4, yeah, it's kind of getting a little crowded in here. I mean, you've got Sir Russ, you got Stetco, you got Williams, you got the monkey goblin thing, you got Dorothy, though I guess Dorothy doesn't technically take up space. It's getting a little crowded nonetheless.
All right, so I'm just gonna lay it out for you guys because I'm leaving. You've got until I find a planet suitable for this life form to, and he points at Russ, and study whatever it is that you're going to study. And he points at Razib and says, keep it contained or sedated.
And Dorothy actually looks really concerned, says, Captain?
Yes?
There's more than one of them.
Oh,
Come
how
again?
fascinating. I was thinking that they might duplicate without needing sexual reproduction.
To use a metaphor, I'm sure Razib will correct me on. You know how amoebas like sort of just copy themselves and split apart, and apparently when it was in the ceiling, it split apart, and there's now Oh dear. There's now 8 of them.
This thing's like a tribble with acid claws.
That explains why there were so many on that planet. If my theory is correct, I believe these creatures could survive on any planet. They may even have been scientifically engineered. This is fascinating. What a discovery, Captain.
Going to
Make
have to
that 10.
reduce the oxygen levels in all of the affected areas.
We can't do that, Razib. We breathe oxygen.
We should have thought about that before we unleashed an unknown life form in the ship.
One that you weren't keeping track of, as you so-called said it was your duty.
My fellow Sir Russ will take the blame for me.
Always have a
Russ
scapegoat.
is busy studying the creature and doesn't say anything.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Don't
gotta-
even start, Captain. If you
We
leave,
have to.
I'm putting it on your performance review.
Knew there was a reason I brought the baldric.
All right. And Williams taps his combat. Williams to the bridge.
And let me see if I remember which of the ensigns is on duty. Is it Ensign Thomas is the one? I think is the one we've had be the Klingon opera guy. I think it's Ensign Thomas. Ensign Thomas reports says, yes, sir, bridge reporting.
Ensign Thomas, full stop.
Aye, sir. Reading all stop.
All right. Sound. I want you to take us to red alert.
May I ask why, sir?
Red alert, Ensign.
Of course, sir. And red alert begins to blare across the ship. General quarters are sounded. All the lovely details that come with a red alert.
All on-duty personnel are to report to the quartermaster for EV suits. All off-duty personnel to emergency shelters. We're venting atmosphere on this ship.
Captain, that
Razib's gonna
will
start
kill the
scanning.
creatures.
Razib's going to start scanning Williams.
I'm not venting all of it, Russ. Just enough to slow them down.
Oh.
And now it's your job to tell me exactly how much that is.
Roughly 50% reduction puts them into a docile state.
Which,
There
for
we go.
you science and medicine nerds out there, you could put people into coma, but it's not great for their brain if you leave them in it too long. Vizeth would probably be fine, but Vizeth is Vizeth, so...
Captain, don't you feel this is a little premature?
12 now, sir.
Well, there's been 4 since I started talking. 4 births.
13.
Well,
Oh.
we're waiting for you to stop talking so we can actually carry out these orders, sir.
Fascinating species that can duplicate so quickly.
Stecco is running out of the room to go and take care of necessary procedure, securing emergency bulkheads,
You two
clearing areas, etc.
stay here. I will bring you your EV suits. Just keep an eye on this one. And the captain will leave.
Once the
Captain, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, Major.
I believe your badge is slightly crooked, sir. And he'll reach in to correct the captain's badge and then dose him with some dopamine to counteract some of that cortisol. Oh, sorry.
What was
slipped.
that?
It's empty. No worries.
Isn't oxygen in the blood bad?
Oxygen.
Yeah, if you pump oxygen directly into, you know what? Forget
If
about
there
it.
if there had been oxygen in the vial, I wouldn't have said it was empty, Captain.
Touche, Major. Touche. Listen, just hold tight. I'll be right back with your EV suits. And we'll get this squared away.
Major
Yes,
Razib,
sir.
once the captain leaves, Sir Russ will lean over to Major Razib. Major Razib, do you think the captain is mad at me?
I think the captain is not himself, and we have until he gets back with the EV suits to solve this problem.
Does seem a bit aggressive. What if the captain has been replaced? Or is himself a Monko goblin?
In either case, we still have until he gets back here to get the Mako goblin. Computer, can you isolate the Moko goblin's life form sensor readings?
Well, I can tell you their general area, Raziv, but if you want, like, pinpoint accuracy, no, can't do that, sorry.
Can you raise force fields to barricade the 14 of them?
16 now, but yes, I've already erected some force fields, and okay, I hesitate to say that they're contained. They appear to be on decks 3, 12, 14, 24, and 30. Oh, that's not good. And as Dorothy says it's not good, we're going to transition to the wave motion gun control room, because while this has all been going on, Vizeth, you're doing the calibration thing when you hear something rattling in the ceiling. Now, the wave motion gun is a big open room with a giant super weapon in the middle of it, but to hear something in the ceiling from this height means it has to be making quite the racket. And as you look up at the ceiling, you see that the ceiling tiles themselves are being eaten away by a very potent acid. And in fact, you may even have to step out of the way a few times as that same acid drips down onto the gangplank, which you are currently sitting on or standing on.
And I think quite calmly and coolly, as he sort of ducks around the falling ceiling tiles and the acidic droppings, is Vizeth is going to slap his comm badge while moving towards perhaps some kind of weapons locker or the like on board the ship, and simply say, Vizeth security, please send a detachment to the wave motion gun room.
And Dorothy replies, I'm on it, but okay. There's 2 of them, Vizeth. You think you can keep them from hurting the gun?
I will certainly attempt to do so. And is there any way that I could use any of the tools that have been employed to, I guess, calibrate the gun as makeshift weapons?
You tell me what kind of tools you got going on.
I suppose that I would have some kind of laser welder and the like. So that'd probably be the best. Cool. In terms of the machinery above the wave motion gun, is there any way that I could send a charge through the Jeffries tubes above the gun to sort of force them out or to force them into the open?
Yeah, I like it. Why don't you give me a control and a security at a difficulty of 3?
Okay. Then I'll use augmented ability control.
That gives you 1 success to start off with for the increased complication range.
And I'll buy an extra die using physical enhancement.
Okay. Which I believe costs you 3 stress.
It's you roll 3 challenge dice and take the stress.
Close enough. I was close.
So control security, perform task, shipboard tactical systems.
Would apply.
And 3 with a complication range of 3.
All right. Hey, there's 3 successes. That's all you need. Well, 4 successes, so you get a momentum. So you send a charge. Oh, you also do take 4 stress damage, though. Interesting. So you send a charge up through the Jeffries tubes in the ceiling. And the good news is that one of the Monko goblins is going to come falling out of the ceiling and splat on the gangplank. But the bad news is that the second one starts hooting and hollering and is going to launch at you from the ceiling and attempt to slam into you. So let me go ahead. I'm going to give it 1 additional die here because I like messing with Vizeth, apparently. That is an 8, a 19, and a 14. So as long as you roll 1 success on a daring security, you actually can hit it rather than the other way around.
Right. I will spend 1 momentum.
All right. You also did just get 1 momentum from chat as well.
Okay. No focus, I believe.
Unless you have hand-to-hand combat, unfortunately not.
No.
But you get 2 successes. You actually get that momentum back, and you get to strike it. So tell me a little bit about how you're clocking this thing silly, because I imagine Vizeth is quite the brawler.
Surprised, actually. I suppose the creature lands snarling and roaring, and it lunges towards him. And Vizeth, in a surprising show of deftness for a being of his size and bulk, almost uses its momentum against it, grabbing its shoulder and arm and using its momentum to propel it into the gangplank and try to toss it over the edge. So that would be 6 challenge dice.
It would be 1 plus your security, so yep, 6 challenge dice.
All right.
And 5 is more than enough with 3 effects. Yeah, the Monko Goblin goes unconscious as you slam it into the gangplank.
And then sort of almost like his body is decompressing, like it's been through some kind of tremendous amount of strain. So it's almost like there's a steam of sweat rising off of his entire form. He deflates slightly and then taps his home badge again. This is Vizeth to security. I have 2 unconscious creatures in the wave motion gun room. Would you please remove them?
Stetko, that's going to go to you.
Oh, it's going to go to me. You said 2.
That is correct.
I'm on my way.
May I ask, should I simply exterminate them? They are both unconscious.
Oh. What would you say?
Coup de grace.
Well, for us,
For now, leave them. They seem to be reproducing asexually. So as long as they're unconscious, I don't think they can achieve that and continue to multiply. We may end up dropping them off at a planet somewhere.
Are you suggesting that they're involved in some kind of parthenogenesis?
Just imagine a tribble. Oh wait, you wouldn't have met a tribble. I suppose so.
Commander.
I'm not in the same room as you,
I thought you were. That's fine.
She's running around the ship trying to.
I think it would be funny actually
the
if
atmosphere.
Russ goes, "Boop, Commander, I have just discovered something interesting. It appears the creatures do not have to be conscious to procreate. Just figured you should know."
With you making the complication for me, Vizeth, you watch as the 2 become 4. Still unconscious, but there's now 4 of them.
Computer, please erect a force field around the invasive biological organisms within the wave motion gun room.
And force shield goes voomp voomp and seals them in.
And then Vizeth is just going to tap his comm badge again. Commander, is there any way to retard their procreation?
We're devising the next steps, which would be to reduce oxygen supply across the ship to 50%, which does seem to prevent a number of issues. That included.
He looks over at the 4 creatures that are sort of slumbering away inside those force fields. I imagine that if you reduce the oxygen levels to 0%, it would have a more effective means of retarding their procreation, but nonetheless.
Vizeth, there are roughly 68 of these on the ship at this point. What you do with 4 of them, I honestly don't care. If you think that you can exterminate them safely and you have the means and the morale to do that, then do it.
Very good, Commander. Thank you. Vizeth out. And then Vizeth is just going to look at them for a moment, work his jaw, and then say, "Computer, please reduce the oxygen level inside the force fields to 35%.
And you again hear that hiss as it begins to reduce in the oxygen content. And after a moment, yeah, they stop sort of rumbling and looking like they're going to split apart.
And then I think Vizeth, looking somewhat balefully at the creatures and then mournfully at the wave motion gun, is going to stroll out of the room, heading for the weapons locker to arm himself.
So our next scene is I want to know what is Sarus doing at this moment, and is Razib with him?
So Russ has, if Razib's cool with it, requested his assistance in creating an inoculation to like prevent the creatures from like reproducing and reverse their changes. So that we'd still have 98 of them, but we could prevent them from continuing to like expand, and then we could shrink them back to their original size. That's what he wants to work on with Razib.
That's just a retro evolutionary mitotic inhibitor with extra steps.
Precisely.
Fine.
Let's go to
We'll
sick
need to make
bay
sure we
this
have
one.
enough for 123 of them. Why is there an odd number?
Number keeps going up.
I
Because if
just
they-
wanted to go on record here. I'm not the one telling them to raise it. They're raising it on their own. They're making their own problem. This isn't me. Anyway, carry on.
Nope, 124. There we are.
I believe that's the plot of every Lost in Space episode. They make their own problems.
You know, that is a phenomenal program. I've actually learned much about strange space exploration from the way they bumbled through it themselves. Have you ever seen I believe it was Earth 2021? There was a version of it that was on an ancient Earth, and she goes on a bit of a tangent about it.
If you keep talking, there will be more of them.
Oh, yes, 138. All right, let's proceed.
Well, Razib
this
or
like an
Sarus,
extended
which either one of
cast,
you
or-
wants to take the lead here. This is going to be a daring in a medicine or a daring in a science. And again, you can choose who's assisting whom. I am going to make this a difficulty of 5, though. So it is going to be quite difficult. But again, as a reminder, you do have determination and you do have 3 momentum, currently sitting pretty.
I think because you came up with the idea of the reverse inhibitor, you should do it, and I should assist.
Cool. I have xenobiology as
Would
a
apply as a
focus.
focus.
And we're going to go bold medicine. So
So you're going to give me a threat for 1 additional die. Mm-hmm.
do I only have to give you 1 additional die?
Yeah, it's whatever amount of threat that you buy will get you that bold medicine.
Right. So daring medicine.
So you're rolling 3 dice at the moment. There is a chance to get 5, but you might want to spend momentum and or determination here.
How much momentum do we have?
You have 3 at the moment.
Yet. 3. I will spend 2 momentum to get. Wait.
A
how many
4th
more
die. Yeah,
momentum?
you had it.
Yeah. There we go.
All right, so you get to roll 4, and you can re-roll 1 of them.
Okay. And, does
All right,
quick
well,
study
Sarus-
come into play here?
Got
Say
you 2
again?
successes.
Does quick study come into play here?
It actually would. It would reduce it down to a 4 difficulty. Good catch.
Okay.
All right, so that has a grand total of 6 successes. And if you want to fish for more momentum, you can, but you're getting 2 momentum back already.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and keep as is.
Okay. All right, back up to 3 momentum. So yeah, Razib, I mean, you said it was easy. So for you and Sarus working together, it's almost trivial. You have a virus ready to test on one of these things. When I spend 2 threat to make the door leading into the science lab portion of sickbay, there's a loud thud, 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 thud.
Perfect. We have a patient.
Doesn't
And-
seem very patient.
Moments later, the door is literally ripped off of its hinges as another Munko goblin comes running into the room, hooting and hollering, throwing crystals every which way. So yeah, we're technically in an encounter. You guys get to choose who goes first because you're the players, so which one of you wants to go first?
So I would like to distract it.
Okay, how are you going to distract it?
So when I was on the planet, I
Mhm.
learned a little bit about their language. So
Debatable,
I am
but
going
carry
to.
on.
Hear me out.
Mhm.
And I'm going to use empathy to hoot and holler
Mhm.
through my translator to try
Mhm.
and just throw it off guard.
I'm going to need you to role play it out, no matter whether you succeed or fail. But yes, I'll.
I'm just gonna before you do that. You're in so much more trouble if they have a language.
Roll me a presence in science difficulty of 3.
Spend
And
3
your
momentum,
xenoanthropology
'cause
would apply as a focus.
YOLO. In science, you said?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to just spend a determination on this one.
Nice.
Give back 2 momentum and just roll 2. And 2 with a focus.
All right. Well, with that
Phenomenal.
determination, you get your 3. So the good news
How do
is
I roll a
that...
challenge die to get my determination back, maybe?
All right, because you got veteran. Good call.
Or just perform a challenge?
Yeah, perform a challenge and you'd put in 1. No, you don't get it back, unfortunately.
Whatever.
But no, the good news is as you're hooting and hollering, the Monko Goblin kind of stops and kind of looks at you and tilts its head and goes, ooh, ooh. And not to make monkey noises into the microphone, we see a narrator's bubble appear on the bottom of the screen that says, though they didn't know it, they'd engaged in a conversation about bananas. So the Monko Goblin is kind of distracted, Razib. You could spend 2 momentum to immediately go if you so wished.
I'll go ahead and do that then.
All right. So if you want to inoculate this thing, it's going to be a daring and a medicine difficulty of 1.
Okay. In terms of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I am treating an unfamiliar species.
Mm-hmm.
So quick study.
Yep.
And then does precision maneuvering matter when it's not a ship?
Let me look at the text for precision maneuvering, because actually one of the devs did reply that some of the talents we thought were ship only or, were for personal combat only, some of them actually do. I'm going to say precision maneuvering here would actually be something you can do. So it would go reduce down to a minimum of 0 there. Yeah, so you're rolling a difficulty 0 here.
Interject for 1 second.
Yeah, what you
My
got?
difficulty would have been down by 1 because I have disarming nature. So
Ah,
I was gaining trust. So we would have 1 momentum then.
You would
That's
have
the only
1.
difference. Yeah,
Mhm.
I forgot about that last time. So anyway.
So I'm going to go ahead and perform this task as is because Razib said this is child's play.
in before complications.
Yep. So I've got 2 dice and a
Yep.
focus.
Yep.
Double 20s.
No,
Oh,
get your 2
yeah.
successes, so that's 2 momentum. So yeah, Razib, you walk up to this thing, I suppose, and you just kind of go, and after a moment, the Monko Goblin starts to sway a little bit, and before your eyes, it begins to shrink till it's about the size of a teddy bear, and then it kind of curls up cutely and starts sucking on its thumb as it falls asleep.
Russ picks it up. See, they are completely harmless.
And then it sneezes, and purple viscous liquid that is still slightly acidic just goes all over your chest, Russ.
Oh dear. Do you have a cold? Well, it
Hold
is a
on.
virus.
Don't move. And Sir Russ will come in with a sampler kit from his tricorder and wipe a little bit of the acid onto a glass template. And he'll take it over to a science to play terminal for analysis.
So while
Okay, carry on.
While that's going on, we're now going to check in with the captain and Stetko. Where are you 2 at the moment?
Would it make sense if we were in the same area?
Up to you.
I think it makes sense if you say it makes sense.
So cute.
I think
love it.
that she would have gone to the bridge
Okay.
to coordinate efforts of like getting people into their EV suits.
So we'll say, Stetko, you're kind of coordinating with Dorothy behind Williams as he's in his chair.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, Stetko, as you're reading the reports that are coming in, you do see that the ship crew is responding very quickly and rapidly. I just said the same thing twice, whatever. You see that you're looking at about a 80% report rate. They should all be ready within the next 10 minutes.
My bridge background here. Okay. Sir, looks like we'll be ready in about 10 minutes to deploy.
Good. I was kind of hoping that that little display would have maybe motivated Russ and Razid to get something together a little faster.
I'm not sure with this specific combination of events that we're
Maybe
like,
not.
haste is the primary motivator.
True enough. Just answer me one thing. Was it believable? I don't play the captain card very much.
Let me see. She like checks his pips.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4.
fair enough. I'm gonna go get suited up. I'll see you in a few minutes.
I think she will remain and sort of begin sectioning off the ship as needed, partitioning the areas where the creatures are. And she'll begin that work on a console with Dorothy while he's getting suited up.
All right. Well, the good news is the bridge is fully equipped for all of the bridge crew in terms of EV suits. One of the benefits of being a carrier vessel, they thought ahead. So Williams, all you really have to do is just go down a level to the ground floor and sort of step into that little alcove that's right behind where your big chair is. So you kind of just step inside and start suiting up. But as you're getting suited up, Dorothy kind of looks over at Stetko and says, so, I'm just going to put this out there. Are we going to just dump these off on a planet and make this someone else's problem, or?
Ideally, we find an uninhabited planet. Saras has led us to believe that they can survive almost anywhere.
Right. I'm not so much arguing that. I'm just curious if it's technically a violation of the Prime Directive to introduce an invasive species.
Onto a planet with no intelligent life?
That we know of.
You make good points. Ultimately, I think the security of the ship is front of mind for me. But if the captain decides last minute we need to vent them,
Okay. All right.
then we will.
And at this point, Captain Williams, you've returned from suiting up and you're ready to put your helmet on. But as you walk forward, Dorothy kind of goes, Captain, where did you get that suit?
From the alcove down below.
Oh, dear. You might want to... And she motions at your back. Yeah, the entire back has been eaten away by acid.
Should probably get out of this.
Yeah. But if there's acid there... Oh, there's 5 of them in the bridge area. And Dorothy starts looking around. I should have brought my exocomp body.
Well, prep it.
I would say Steka would erect a force field around the main bridge area.
Like that central pathway where the command chair is? Yeah.
Yeah. And like a force field. So one designed to keep things out as much as in.
Mm-hmm.
So they could treat the bridge area.
Okay. And we'll say for sake of argument that the other people on the bridge have either gotten into EV suits or are going to be within this sealed area.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, Dorothy kind of looks at Setko and goes, okay, voomp, force field's up, dumping the oxygen.
We should reach out to the science lab first, sir.
Agreed.
So she'll tap her comm badge. Steko to Saras. Razib, are you prepared?
We have extremely exciting news, Commander and Captain. We have, more Dr. Razib has created an inoculation to reverse engineer. What was the term you used, Dr. Razib?
From the back of the room, you hear, it's a retro-evolutionary mitotic inhibitor.
It's a retro-evolutionary mitotic inhibitor. It actually turns them back into adorable fuzzy creatures. Isn't this exciting?
Computer replicate multiple carriers for these things.
You read my mind, Major.
Major, is it transmissible via inhalation?
I'm looking at a protein chain we captured from the creature's acidic expulsions. I'm trying to see if we might be able to leverage such a thing for an aerial counter agent, sir.
The only thing I want to point out is you got 3 momentum. You could spend 2 of it to make the narrative declaration that, yes, in fact, it is something you can administer airborne.
Why, yes, it is, in fact, something I can contribute to an airborne inhibitor, sir.
Excellent. Well done, Doctor. And well done, Russ.
Thank you, Captain.
And I think at that, Williams is sort of going to, I guess, stop for a moment. He's clearly inwardly thinking about something, and then taps his comm badge and says, Williams to Viseth.
Here's sort of a scrabbling sound in the background, and then a moment's delay. Yes, Captain, how can I help you?
Is everything all right, crewman? You sound like you're in a Jeffrey's tube.
I believe that there is some sort of reference in Terran media to hunting rabbits. I believe I'm engaged in a similar activity.
Camera pans and we just see a trail of not corpses, but just unconscious body. I don't know. Would you have left them alive?
They're confined in force fields at 35% oxygen. Yes.
Okay. Just we see in the Jeffrey's tube just piles and piles of these things just contained in force fields behind Viseth.
Right. Well, we're about to administer an inoculant through the environmental control system. It will inhibit their multiplicative proclivity.
That does seem to be a vastly more efficient means of addressing the issue than the one that I've adopted. Again, Captain, your adaptivity impresses.
Thank you, Kermit. And now, I know it's an odd time, but I'd like a status update on the QSD.
I'm afraid that the project has ground to a halt for obvious reasons. I've had some difficulty in modifying the deflector to create a gravitic beam sufficient to rupture the quantum barrier and enter into it. Although the ship does have sufficient processing power to effect the calculations necessary, I am unfamiliar with the tactical systems on board the ship.
Well, in theory, if we could overcome those particular hurdles, though, we could do it.
It is possible. Why do you ask, Captain?
Because it occurs to me that we can't keep these things, and it seems like the only place where they won't completely overrun the environment, from what I'm observing here, is their own planet.
Captain, I believe that, was it Lieutenant Varel we went with on the recent away mission, said that my species and I as an individual are possessed of a kind of cruel and calculating bloodthirstiness. In this case, rest assured that I am not acting out of any kind of malice, but mere logic. Should we not simply exterminate these creatures. Using the quantum slipstream drive would be an inordinate expenditure of resources.
And Dorothy pipes up, if I may, Captain, in order to use QSD, you'd have to turn me off because the computer's going to need that processing power. In addition, we only have so much Benamite. We could maybe do a round trip and a little bit more, but after that, we'd be out of it.
Noted. I'd still like you to begin preparations, and I'll give you my decision when the time comes.
Very good, Captain. I will leave you with this, however. These are non-sentient life forms, as far as we can tell. They're just animals, Captain.
Duly noted, crewman. Thank you.
Vizeth out.
And I think with that, we're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break. We'll be back shortly, everybody. Stick around.
A Cuban, and he just takes a holographic cigar, puts it in his mouth, and just starts shooting shit.
Well, before you do, you got to say hello to my.
Oh, great. Now we're online. Thanks.
That's just the kind of conversation you have to cut back into. I mean, why would you not? Oh, Lord. Well, we're going to fast forward just a little bit of ahead of where we left off before break. And it's going to be about 30 minutes after you all have applied the retrovirus to shrink and contain the monkey goblins at this point. And most of the Euthenia is currently with reduced or lack of oxygen. But Stetko, Williams, Sarus, Razib, you all are in EV suits in one of the conference room. Vizeth is not in an EV suit. And you all are discussing what to do from here with the monkey goblins.
So can you remind me again, have we already distributed the inoculation?
Yes. You have contained and shrunk 253.
253. Okay. Okay, so options, everyone. We somehow find a way back to their home worlds, drop them back off. We find a new world, drop them off. They're certainly disruptive to ship life, so it's not like we can keep them here.
Vizeth is actually just going to turn over to Dr. Razib. Major, would it not be possible to keep them in stasis if there are moral objections to simply eliminating them?
Them in stasis would require significant power drain on ship systems for the number we have. We could probably only support 35 without significant impacts. Quite a bit more than that. They do pose a very interesting biological research opportunity. These entities seem to multiply mitotically, which means there are significant matter creation questions I have about this process. In addition to that, their tissues can be very valuable for other applications.
Their novel response to an oxygenated atmosphere is also something that might be worthy of further study.
I could already think of
proteanism is impressive.
I agree. The ability to regenerate tissue at such a mind-boggling scale is extraordinarily valuable, especially to a crew that is stranded in the middle of nowhere. On the other hand, we could see about retrofitting the ship's biofilters and storing the entities in there until we find a better thing to do with them. We'll preserve their state as is and prevent them from breaking out and running amok again.
Commander Sarus, would that not pose significant danger of pattern degradation? If our objective is to preserve the lives of these creatures, Is that a wise course of action?
Russ has been very quiet up to this point, introspective. His normal kitty cat up in his life. All right, give me 1 second. Get rid of this. All right. But it's been a little serious. And he will look up. Captain, it is my professional opinion that we should dispose of the creatures.
So that's when you say dispose, you mean exterminate? You want us to euthanize them?
I have given this great thought, Captain. It is my fault that the creatures are put aboard the vessel. I should have been more careful. And had I been more careful and followed the proper protocols, the creature never would have made it aboard. With that being said, the risk they pose both to our resources as well as the livelihood of the crew is too great.
Well, before I consign hundreds of creatures to oblivion, sentient or not, I want every available option and an assessment of those options.
So Russ will have 2 data pads, slide them across the table towards the captain with pretty much every viable option that's been brought up to this point and a risk assessment versus cost and like a side-by-side comparison of every one of those like situations with conclusions on why each of them is not worth the risk. Biofilters, degradation, storing them in stasis, just like Dr. Razib said, we don't have enough power for it. Putting them in a holodeck and like the power drain it would have, and they might continue to reproduce, and then they could overwhelm it. Like just every single option you can think of. And then the only one that seems viable is to euthanize the entire, all of them. I have done the research, Commander, or Captain, excuse me. I do not like this. I take full responsibility for what needs to be done, but I do believe it does need to be done.
Well, see, the funny thing about that, Russ, is when there's a chain of command, individual responsibility actually runs uphill. And so the responsibility for anyone's mistake on this ship is ultimately mine. I'll consider this plan, but first, I want someone in astrometrics. I want to know how close we are to the nearest stellar body that could serve as a home for these creatures. Vaseth, I'd like for you to liaise with engineering and Commander Stetko on probability of the QSD working and an ETA
Right
on a
then,
return
Williams,
journey.
interrupting you. The doors to the conference room open, and a very interesting figure walks in. Still in her pajamas, a certain Commander Rash sort of steps in, yawning, and goes, "Oh, okay. All right, what have I missed? Okay, none of you have gotten new ranks. We've got a cool alien guy with us now, and
Is she not in a suit?
no, she's not in a suit. She's just legit pajamas, like legit, like a onesie.
So I think, yeah, through the suit, that sort of muffled, artificially boosted voice coming through the speaker, yeah, would just sort of, the captain would look at her and go, "Commander, we're at 50% oxygen pressure, and you're walking around like nothing's wrong."
I mean, caffeine helps.
You're awake.
Yeah. One of the nurses said apparently the lower oxygen level like triggered some primal instinct of my species and woke me up or something along those lines, and I'm back.
All right. Well, I want you to work jointly with crewman Vizeth and Commander Stetko to see if our tactical and propulsion systems can support a QSD attempt, and how far can we go? We may have
How
to.
far you want to go?
Well, I may have to pull a U-turn and travel back a month and a half at cruising speed.
Rash walks over to the replicator. Black label, quintuple strength. Materializes, takes it. Alright, so unless you guys have gone through all my stores, looks like we've got enough Benamite for round trip and a little bit more. I can maybe get you 2 round trips, but you're not going to like the solution.
We only need to get there once and come back.
Well, it was mostly a metric of how much travel time.
No. No more than we have to.
All right, well, pilots aren't going to like this, but we're not using half of all the fighters we got on board, so if we pull from those, I mean, we're only using, what, 5 wings of fighters right now? The other 5 are sitting unused. Could just pull from them.
I see no issue with that. I don't think we currently need them.
If I may, Captain, I do object to that course of action. We may not need them now, but a fully equipped wing of tactical fighters may be the difference between survival and destruction at some future date. Sacrificing their functionality in favor of saving these creatures seems unwise, as Commander Saras has pointed out. I've taken a few moments to review his calculations, and they seem indisputable.
I like this new guy. He's very direct. I like that. Raises the glass and starts sipping it.
Captain.
Nods.
All right.
I
Major?
must agree with our new crewman and Commander Saras. These species breeding patterns suggest that they are heavily hunted and predated on their world. The numbers of reproduction account for the survivability of the species, but we could be spending half of our stores of Venomite to get there and back, drop them off, and by the time we get back, 90% of them may have already died. Ugh.
If you wish, Captain, I can report to Astrometrics and attempt to find another suitable location, perhaps bereft of any life forms or ecosystem that would be unduly disrupted by the creature's addition.
Please do. But I am forced to consider that we may need to simply exterminate them. And I'm prepared to do that if the survival of this crew ever comes into question. For now,
Might be able to propose a solution that could meet all of those needs. Mr. Vizeth, you were searching for an ecosystem that would be unimpeded by their presence. Captain, you were seeking to exterminate them, and if doing so were to benefit the crew, then that would be the choice that you made. Seeing as how we are out here in the middle of nowhere, I am prepared to propose that we can convert their biomass into energy stores using the transporter.
Rash looks down at her coffee. When the hell did Razib get so edgy? Am I still asleep?
Is Stecco getting like any emotional readings from these animals?
No, actually, they don't seem to have the capacity for your empathic abilities.
So they may have emotions, but
If they
Not
do,
like
you're not
upper
picking up on them. Yep.
cerebral. Okay. Okay.
I think the captain would just sort of half turn his head to Stetco and say, "Your thoughts, Commander?"
If we can't find a planet to drop them off at, my recommendation, sir, is to go with the major. As it
All right.
stands, I'm not able to get any kind of emotional read on them, whether that's operator insufficiency or they just simply don't have emotions. It's hard to tell.
Well, I'm fully in support of the Major's plan, should I be unable to find a suitable location to, well, accept these creatures. It seems strangely incongruous with the morality that all of you have evidenced thus far. This is a positive growth on your part.
I'm sorry, I was about to clarify that we're not going to be converting these creatures who are here because of us into fuel to better ourselves. This is one mistake that we should not benefit from in any way.
So Russ is going to pull back a third data pad and tuck it under the table.
It would be no different than consuming animal life on a planet in order to survive. Do you have moral objections to the consumption of animals?
No.
Would that be anathema to you?
Vizeth? No, not at all. But there's a difference. You eat to survive. If you kill to eat, you do it in the moment. We have energy stores. We have resources to draw on. We don't need to eat right now.
Captain, I feel the need to point out that our efforts would involve diminishing returns the longer that we discuss this.
Quite true. All right.
Well, it's a good thing that I took the initiative, and Rash grabs a data pad from the side counter and looks at it. Oh, sorry. Still just woke up and I already want to go back to sleep. Nearest planet that's within our current trajectory, we're looking at a Class L, Class Y borderline thing. Doesn't appear to have any life on it other than normal flora. But it's one of those things where I couldn't tell you if there is intelligent life there or not. We'd have to go and explore. Though a novel solution occurs to me, and Rash looks deliberately between Vizeth and Saras. Did you make torpedoes while I was asleep? Do we have torpedoes? Anybody? Do we have torpedoes?
No.
Okay, so we need to cannibalize a little bit of the fighters, but this is going to sound really weird, but welcome to me. What if we converted them into a transporter pattern? We stored that pattern on a torpedo case in a torpedo casing, launched it back towards their home planet, and then let them rematerialize on their home planet whenever the torpedo gets there.
Can that be done?
I mean, I literally installed a giant alien super weapon on Deck 35, which I hope is still there. And I did that in 48 hours, so sure.
Still lose resources in this plan. Not as tremendously.
Yeah, but less than we would otherwise.
It's genius.
Oh, good, because I hope that looks good on my performance review, because I have been asleep for the past however long, and I hope that doesn't negatively reflect on my performance.
It's quality, not quantity. Unless you're deliberately missing duty, then it's also quantity. But can you rough that up? Can somebody rough up that projection. I want to know the odds.
And Saras and Vizeth, you can either make something up or we can roll for it. Well, got
You're
anything,
Sorry, my
Wolf?
mic didn't pick that up. I said, let's roll for it, but
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay,
you just kind of made a motion. We weren't sure.
okay.
All right. Let's have you do a insight and engineering, and Saras and Vizeth, you decide who's doing the main role. You can assist one another on this. Difficulty of 3, and you do have 2 momentum at the moment. And if you have anything related to transporters and replicators, that would apply here.
You should probably take the lead on this, Wolf.
Do you have that bad of a score, Wolf?
I'm sorry. I must have missed something. I didn't hear what just happened. I apologize.
That's quite all right. No, they basically they're figuring out the efficiency of Rash's plan.
What do I need to roll?
You would be rolling a insight and engineering at a difficulty of 3, and you would have transporters and replicators as a focus if you've got it.
Power systems?
Now, I can't give you power systems, unfortunately.
Sensor use?
I mean, technically, the sensors are involved in transporters and replicators. I'll give you sensor use, sure.
Cool. I'll spend a momentum.
Okay.
YOLO.
Oh, yeah.
3 successes.
4 successes total with Vizeth's assist, which means you get a momentum back.
Nice.
Saras, what I would tell you is you get to make up the specific percentage here, but it's a very high percentage, like above 50 of this plan working.
87.3 repeating.
Oh, there you go. I mean,
it will work, he says, likely.
It does appear to be the case. Nonetheless, it does require the expenditure of some of our fighter wing.
We're not going to miss, 10 fighters? We could spare 10 fighters.
How many do we have, like, total?
Add a character, you have 100, and you're using about 50 of them at the moment.
All right. So Russ is like all excited for a little bit, and then he stops. I have a question for the group, and I don't want this to come across in the wrong way, but what is to be gained if we follow through with this course of action? Not to say that everything we do must have some sort of gain for us. Sometimes simply doing the right thing is enough, but to sacrifice all of our resources when we are so far from home, not all, but a tangible percentage, is it worth it? And he looks specifically to William.
Commander, that first creature that we brought on board, it didn't ask to come with us. And whether or not it's sentient is immaterial. We took it from its native environment, and now because it simply doesn't conform to what we consider easy or convenient, I don't know what universe would, and dispose of them as though they were simple refuse, and our moral obligation to them was subverted completely because of a lack of perceived intelligence. I won't reduce a creature to an IQ test to determine its odds of survival. Make plans: 5 fighters from Hangar A, 5 from Hangar B.
Captain, if I may, before we implement this plan, can we not launch a probe towards the nearby L-class planet? If it's a viable option, then we need not lose a full 10% of our fighter complement.
Proceed.
Already lost it. Should be there in about 10 hours. Can we spare 10 hours, Razib?
Of course, 10 hours is nothing.
All right, cool. So
We may simply congregate the creatures inside one of the cargo bays and lower the temperature and oxygen levels therein, put them in a state of torpor. That should lower the power drain.
Good thinking.
all right. So I know I've kind of been out for like 6 months at this point, but my quarter's still on deck 3.
Right where you left them.
Cool. Cause I may have left something running this entire time. I hope it stopped, because if it didn't, we still have Dorothy, right?
Yes.
Okay. Has
Rash?
she made an exocomp body for herself yet?
Yes.
Okay. How many exocomps have you seen on the ship so far?
GM.
You've seen 1.
1. Why?
Okay, good. That means the self-replicating. Okay, that's good. That's good. I can turn off that experiment then.
The
That's good.
self-replicating what? Rash?
Self-replicating exocomp, a way to repair itself. If Dorothy's body ever got injured, it could nanite repair itself.
Nanites.
Yeah, I got the idea. It doesn't matter where I got the idea, I suppose.
One crisis at a time, Commander Stetko.
Aye, sir.
I mean, the mere fact that we're not buried in exocomps means that it's still I'm gonna go. And Rash like looks at the door and looks at the captain, runs out of the room, and you hear Dorothy kind of shout from the quarter beyond, "You did what with what?"
It's good to have Rash back.
Very. All right. If there's nothing else.
So let's move to add a character for a moment, because I'm curious where you guys want this to go, because at the end of the day, I don't think I should be making the call here or making you roll to see if the planet's suitable, because I think it's your call at this point, whether it's a semi-happy ending or if it's a we lose fighters type of ending. There's pros and cons to each. It's kind of just where you guys want to go with it, really, at this point.
I have a idea I'd like to share with the group.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Class L planet is suitable. And I think we put them on the Class L planet. And then there is a flash forward scene so many thousands of years in the future where there's a little Monko goblin boy in school and they're learning about their ancient gods, which is us.
I mean, that would be a very lower decks ending. I'd be okay with it, yeah.
That's my suggestion.
My question though is, since we inoculated them and basically, how did we put it?
They learned to, instead of,
retro evolutionarily
Inhibitor.
inhibited them. Like, since we did this to them, like physiologically, can they even still reproduce? Is this just like, what's the actual lifespan? And it's going to be X amount of years on this planet until they just die off happily.
Oh, Kakura brings up an interesting point in chat. Maybe they just mutate again.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I'm good with like a happier ending where we don't lose a bunch of resources. If this is like an out of character discussion, I think we deliberated. I think we deliberated the ethics pretty
That's
well.
my suggestion.
Yeah.
Now, me stirring the pot, Dag and Matthew, you want to share what you guys were working on before we did to the out of character switch?
Oh,
No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
What?
then.
Why not?
Oh no, you got to
This
share
is
now.
a safe space.
Vizeth?
Oh, pass the buck.
Mhm.
I mean, all I need you is to be like, yeah, sure, but like,
Yeah, sure. You can share your ideas, or if you want me to do that, I can do so in a sort of circuitous way.
circuitous. I love that.
So just circle around the issue, circuitous. But I suppose our plan might involve some kind of accident with the transporter.
Accident.
Yes,
that eats,
this
that
is-
converts them into
it's just, you know, these things happen on starships. So yes, I think that to tip our hands, our plan was to attempt to circumvent the efforts of the rest of the crew and surreptitiously use the transporter to deconstruct these beings into energy that would be usable by the ship without the rest of the crew knowing. Now, whether they find out about
my
that
God.
as we are engaged in this process of trying to clandestinely slaughter all these creatures for our benefit, I think that's up to the dice and the story that they have to tell.
It's like a Soylent Green.
Yeah, really is.
Everything
Why?
is Soylent Green on a starship.
You
It's
know,
people.
he's right.
Yeah.
My breakfast cereal is Munko goblins.
Well, I mean,
Big.
that's two on the table. Which ones you guys want to go with? I'm happy with doing
Can we
either.
roll for it?
So we roll for it.
Yeah.
High or low.
High or low?
50-50.
All right. I'll do the rolling. I'm gonna do out of 100, and
I mean, I just want to point out the point of clandestinely and surreptitiously ignore the result.
I
know
can
what?
see Razib and Vizeth being like, I won't tell if you won't.
That's exactly what we did in chat.
mm-hmm. Tell you what, you guys call odd or evens on this one. It's a 50-50 shot. If it's evens, you guys get to choose. If it's odds, I get to choose. How about we do it that way?
I like
So-
high-low better.
All right. Well, if you want to call high or low, make the call. You want it high or low?
Captain? Captain. We're muted, as tradition.
Yeah, you call that one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, you call that. You
All right.
call. I was
All
just
right.
gonna. I got nothing.
I will call X where X is equal to the number that I want.
Okay. Well, you
Call
gotta tell
high.
me. You gotta
Uh,
tell me the
high
number,
for
and
my
you gotta
idea.
tell me high or low.
Yeah,
I'm calling high for my idea.
high will be the ethical outcome, and low will be me and Vizeth have a secret.
And what target number are we deciding on here?
What's our max and what's our
You got 1 to 100.
Oh, okay. Target number. Well, if we go higher than the target number, right?
60.
So if I say 99,
Then I would have to roll 100 in order to not do the clandestine. Yes.
I would just say make it 50-50 or
Yeah.
have the characters roll against it, like my security and assisted by the doctor's medicine and the
I like
captain's
that
security.
idea better
and,
than
like,
me
if
rolling.
it's-
Now that you mention it.
it's 1 to 100, 51 or higher.
Flip a coin. It's literally
It's literally a coin. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what?
Roll a D2.
Let's.
There you
We
go.
got to roll the D100 for dramatic effect. It's a 6, so it looks like we're going with a little bit of clandestineness.
great.
if I
That's the
understand.
more fun option. I love this. This is
Bunko
good.
goblins.
All right.
They develop an entire culture.
All right. Well, since we already know what the clandestine thing is going to happen, do you want to just handle it next time, or do you want to actually play that out now? Because we are kind of running up on session time.
Mhm.
Way that I had imagined it was that Razib is sending a message to Vizeth saying, I think we need to do this. It's in the best interest of the crew. And he would then have a change of heart and agree that, you know, we're obviously not going to do anything so unethical as what I projected. So we might as well go with Commander Rash's plan, but let us send these buffers in this remodulated torpedo to this class Y world. At least there, they will have a fighting chance. They won't succumb to predation. Fast forward a little bit, we have our cool torpedo. We throw some transporter buffers into it. We clandestinely transfer the energy from the transporter buffers into the ship's backup reserves, and we send the torpedo on its way, and no one's the wiser.
I like that. Because if we say it's clandestine, there's always the chance of it being discovered in the future. And I think that's an interesting plot thread that we can pull on in the future. I like it.
I'll take a demotion for that.
It's on you. I can't be demoted. I have the lowest rank possible.
I take all the... It's all on me.
He takes all the risk.
He does indeed. All right, well, then that's how we'll end with the last shot then of the transporter buffer deactivating as the torpedo is shot out of the Euthenia towards that Class Y planet. No one else in character the wiser. That's going to be the end of our Season 2 premiere. So yeah, what did you guys think? I know, Wolf, you started off with Silly Monkey, but I think we developed into a very interesting ethical sort of scenario there towards the end.
Absolutely.
Good to
I
be
agree.
back.
It was very cool to have that discussion in character on the table. It was reminiscent of one of Star Trek's most ethical dilemmas. We all know which one it is. I won't say his name.
Is it who I'm thinking of?
Of course it is.
Was it a Voyager episode?
No. Yes.
Oh.
Maybe.
I want to live!
That was a good actor.
Chat
But
was
there was
Chat was
nobody,
actually saying that you guys were doing the Equinox thing, which I was like, I mean, they're not wrong. They are kind of doing the Equinox thing.
Now we've actually done it, and
Mhm.
I mean, on one hand, we didn't actually intend to find an invasive species that we could leverage for our own energy supplies. It came along, and Razib's actual worst plan was not on the table. He was totally going to be like, I mean, if they're going to just produce matter out of nowhere, we could just keep breeding these things and throwing them in the energy buffer.
Oh my God, there is a darkness to the Razib that apparently we need to explore more. I'm making notes of this.
I mean, listen, I think we can all agree nobody's getting, court-martialed over this.
I just want to point out
That's-
that my value, first, do no harm. Second, a part's a part, contributes to his nature.
It's fair. Fair. All right. Well, I think that's where we're going to call the recording for YouTube. Twitch, stick around, but YouTube and podcast, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later.